Say you live in Iowa, say you live in Kansas, say you live on the other side of Missouri. You don't necessarily want to fly and go and connect through Chicago and then go out. It's much easier and less expensive to come to St. Louis and fly out from Lambert.
Those new flights will start in April. From the Saliga Heating and Cooling Weather Desk.
Feeling more like summer this afternoon with sunshine and some clouds and a high of 89, then clear tonight and balmy, low 62 in the coolest suburbs, 68 downtown at the Arch. Plenty of sunshine and quite warm again tomorrow, the high about 90. From the Saliga Heating and Cooling Weather Desk, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Joe Lundberg on 104.1 FM KMOX.
Right now it's 83 degrees in downtown St. Louis. I'm Debbie Monterey, KMOX News.
This report is sponsored by Metro Transit.
All summer long, Metro Day Passes from Metro Transit are just $5, so you can take a summer daycation anytime because your air-conditioned, no-gas to buy super safe, super clean Chariot awaits. Buy yours at metrostlouis.org. That's metrostl.org.
This is the Gashouse Gang on 104.1 FM KMOX. Sponsored by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin comfort dealer. Now, the Gashouse Gang on KMOX.
It's a good afternoon to you. Bernie Miklas, Chris Ranji on the Gashouse Gang on this Thursday, as we've got plenty to discuss today. It's been a pretty busy week for the St. Louis Cardinals, even though they are missing out on the postseason here in 2025. A lot has happened this week, and we expect a lot more to happen as the offseason has officially begun for them. So we thank you for being with us today. 314-436-7900. If you'd like to join in, you can watch the show on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter. You can find us at KMOX Sports on Twitter. We are right there, and you can watch the show if you want to do that. And you can comment. If you comment with a question or just a thought, we might get to some of those today. So Bernie Miklas, as we are getting ready for baseball this afternoon, the first game's going to happen a little less than 2 hours away. The Tigers play the Guardians. We've got 3 games today in the wild card round that are winner take all today. And it's happened before where there are 3, but that's the record of 3 winner take all games in one day in a playoff season. We're already off to a fun start in this postseason.
Yeah. Hi, Ranjan. By the way, I apologize. I have to use an internal mic because mine went dead. So maybe the sound quality is not as good. So I just wanted to explain that. Look, I think it's been great. I've been riveted to just about every one of these games. I mean, I think we all knew the Dodgers-Red series was going to turn out something the way it did. But, the Tigers and Guardians has been excellent entertainment. The Yankees and Red Sox, excellent entertainment. And then there's, I think, an extra personal interest in the Cubs and Padres because you got Mike Shildt managing the Padres and you have the Cardinals' hated rival on the other side. But those 3 series have been superb. And I know there hasn't been a lot of offense, but there's been a lot of great pitching. They've been close. There's been a lot of drama, a lot of tension. They've all, kind of gone down to the last few innings. Just really, really good stuff. So I can't wait to see what is going to happen today as we watch these 3 winner-take-all games.
And Tom and I had this conversation yesterday during Gashouse Gang about, had the Cardinals made the postseason, they would have made it in place of the Reds. So that was the most likely path for them. And then they would have been playing the Dodgers here. And Tom made an argument, which does make sense, that, he almost didn't want them to be in this series because the question was, would you rather them miss out on the playoffs or be in the playoffs and then just get smoked by the Dodgers because LA is clearly better, thus reminding you how far away the Cardinals are from being a good team. And I think in a typical year, so the Cardinals seasons that we are used to, them being highly competitive and at times a legitimate World Series contender, no, that wouldn't be good enough. It would not be good enough to get in and just get trounced by Los Angeles. For this year, though, it would have been nice to see them just make the playoffs. Ultimately that's not the ceiling we are looking for, but I think for now that would have been okay. How would you have felt had they switched places with the Reds, Bernie, and end up just getting beat easily, knowing how much better the Dodgers are than you?
Well, I still would prefer to see him in there because I think it's fun to have the team that in your market, a team that you're a fan of, a team that if you're in the media you cover, and a team that's got this great tradition like the Cardinals, it's always fun if they're in the playoffs. And I know some Cardinals fans will point out, well, wait a minute, they did win the season series from the Dodgers. They won 4 out of 6. I'm sorry, that's nice, but it's irrelevant. Nothing postseason. It's got nothing to do with what happened in the regular season. And we all know the Dodgers are vastly superior. The Cardinals wouldn't have had a chance. The Reds are a better team right now, and they didn't have much of a chance. They put up a fight last night for a while. But listen, I'm all in favor of a team making the playoffs, because even if they go to the playoffs, and we know the only reason they got there is because the Mets choked, and even though if the Cardinals would have gotten destroyed 2 games in a row, I don't know. Like, why is that? Why is not making the playoffs preferable? Like, I don't understand the logic of, like, you're not penalized like you're about to start a rebuild, but because you make the playoffs, it's like all of a sudden, what, you think the ownership and Chaim Bloom are going to say, oh, no, we don't have to rebuild now. We have a great team. So make the playoffs. What the heck? I don't care how it turns out.
So that's the bigger conversation here. And that is how close the Cardinals are to being a real, legitimate World Series contender, or at least a legitimate pennant contender. And it feels to me, just from watching, that I don't know how long it's going to take to get there, Bernie, but that is the ultimate goal. I imagine that's Chaim Bloom's ultimate goal, is that he wants to make them a team that you legitimately put in the conversation for a World Series more years than not. And I mean, just look at the Dodgers, and you look at the Phillies, who haven't even played a playoff game yet because they've got this bye week, essentially a bye week. It feels to me like they're pretty far away, and I don't know how quickly they can actually get there. And also, I'm wondering what the appetite for patience is amongst Cardinals fans to get there. I think it's pretty good, but I could be wrong on that read.
I think it's good among reasonable people, but that's up to each fan to decide. However, I have a hard time trying to even make a good guesstimate about how long it'll take, because it literally depends on the kind of moves that Chaim Bloom's able to make. It depends on, okay, well, who's he going to trade away? I think we all agree he's probably going to trade away a couple of left-handed hitters, but what's he going to get for him? Are any of these players going to be able to help right away? Or are they more like, okay, they're high A level, double A, it's going to take a couple, 3 years before they can pay off? Is Sonny Gray back? What about Contreras? Is he going to play his final 2 years here? See, there's so many things we don't know. Do they hit the jackpot on some people that they have drafted that aren't necessarily like J.J. Weatherholt, for example, or Liam Doyle? Sometimes teams hit the jackpot unexpectedly on some kids that they draft who not only get to the majors fast, but they're really good, and they're a wonderful surprise. So I think all rebuilding's got a different timetable. I do know this, and what Chaim Bloom explained the other day, Bill DeWitt added to it, and people need to remember something. When you say rebuild, it is not a nuclear holocaust where you're just blowing everything up and all that's left is dust, right? There are different styles of rebuild, and it sounds to me the Cardinals are doing kind of a methodical rebuild, but one is not where we've got to just burn down the house and that's it. They've got some talent now. It's not enough. They don't have a high-end talent, but they have some talent now, and they do have some talent on the way. It's not a hopeless situation. They don't have enough high-end talent, and that's going to be hard to do. But I think Chaim Bloom can do it, and I think Chaim Bloom's history of drafting in Tampa Bay and Boston tells us that he can draft enough of winning players, difference-making players, because we see a bunch of those guys playing for the Red Sox right now that he drafted.
The word he used yesterday, or the phrase he used, was, we're not conceding anything. And that is in regard to 2026, that they still at least are saying publicly they think they could be competitive next year, competitive within the division, and then see what happens. But I guess this is where my difficulty comes in that. Let's say Sonny Gray is not around next year. They're able to make that trade. And I suppose there's a possibility Michaelis does come back. But so you've got Michael McGreevy, Matthew Liberatore, and Andre Palante who are still around. I mean, I suppose they start the season in the rotation, but maybe they don't, or maybe Palante doesn't. That, to me, it just seems like that rotation is such a big project if you're going to make it competitive. And I don't know how you fill 2, 3, or even potentially 4 spots to make that a competitive rotation in 1 year. So to me, I don't see how 2026 happens. I hope I'm wrong. I hope they can do it, but I have a lot of skepticism in that.
I think one thing about Chaim Bloom's experience in Tampa Bay, and I've done a lot of research on this, the one thing the Tampa Bay organization always did very, very well, they would find stopgap pitchers. And I'm not talking about high-end in terms of price point, high-end pitchers. They had methods of evaluation using analytics and a lot of other things, technology, where they could spot gems that other teams overlook. And these are not superstars, but they're better than people think. And if you sign them to a 1-year contract or 2-year contract, you might actually get a really good performance from them, surprisingly good. They're not going to be Cy Young candidates, but they're going to be better than everyone thought. Tampa Bay did that a lot. Cleveland does that a lot. And I think, before the Cardinals get to the point where they start spending a lot more money again, I think it's going to be up to Chaim Bloom to do what Cleveland has done, what the Tampa Bay has done, which is to find those potentially high value but low cost gems that other teams don't have the scouting wherewithal to spot. That's one way. I tell you what, though, to me, the offense is maybe even a worse problem because they have no power, they have no speed. They don't steal bases. And statistically, the offense they've gotten out from their outfield the last couple of years is the worst in the 30 years, the 2 worst, the 30 years Bill DeWitt's had the team. They have an unbelievably pathetic outfield in terms of offensive production. It's almost laughable because you wouldn't believe it, right?
Yeah.
So the offense is a huge problem, because it doesn't have any one strength.
Right.
It's got a few good players.
That's exactly right. And we've had multiple people who have messaged in watching on YouTube. Why in the hell would they bring back Michaelis? If they're trying to fill out a rotation, I could see them bringing him back cheaply because it wouldn't cost them much. So I don't know. We'll see what happens there. But it used to be, he's an innings eater. He'll give you 200 innings. Yeah.
He doesn't do that anymore.
Yeah, he can't. So it'll be really, really interesting. I don't know how they're going to do this, Bernie. We are hearing that Albert Pujols is the leading candidate to become the manager of the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. One of the guys who's been reporting on this is Sam Blum with The Athletic. He will join us next on the Gashouse Gang on 104.1 FM KMOX.
I'm Tom Ackerman with this month's Siteman Cancer Center Spotlight. We are discussing breast cancer with Dr. Debbie Bennett.
It makes a big difference who's actually interpreting the mammogram images that you get. We make sure that we have an expert team of breast radiologists that specialize in reading mammograms to be sure that we can get you the most accurate read possible.
Thanks to Siteman Cancer Center, national leaders in cancer. For more information, visit siteman.wustl.edu.
Hey guys, Kevin Wheeler here for FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And FanDuel is coming to Missouri. So on December 1st, you'll finally be able to bet on all your favorite teams in all your favorite sports. And with FanDuel, there are just a ton of ways to get in on the action. You can bet on everything from the money line to over-unders to which team's going to win it all at the end of the season. And with live betting, you can make it more immediate. You can even pick which player is going to score the next touchdown, and then the one after that, and the one after that, and so on. And I can't tell you how excited I am because I love FanDuel. I've been with them since they launched their daily fantasy games, and I've been using the FanDuel Sportsbook for years now when I've been in states that allow me to play. Well, coming December 1st, Missouri is one of those states. Now you and I, we can experience FanDuel in the comfort of our own homes. So see for yourself why FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. FanDuel, play your game. 21 and older and present in Missouri. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Looking for a place to call home without all the maintenance? Check out the Towns of Linneman Park, new townhomes by Lombardo, located in St. Peters. These new construction townhomes are located on the south side of 364-94, east of Harvester Road, and offer floor plans featuring 2 to 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, a loft, and 2-car attached garages. Community amenities include a clubhouse, pool, pickleball courts, dog park, and walking trails. Tour our newly decorated display and fall in love with your new townhome. Visit lombardohomes.com for more information.
Attention, Have you racked up $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? With credit card debt reaching all-time highs, National Debt Relief is notifying consumers about significant debt relief options currently being made available to help those with overwhelming credit card debt. These options may reduce a large portion of credit card debt for those who qualify. You don't need to declare bankruptcy or take out a consolidation loan, and you may only have to pay back a fraction of what you owe, even if you have bad credit. National Debt Relief has already reduced the credit card debt for more than 550,000 consumers. So don't wait. If you owe $10, $20, or even $100,000 in credit card debt, you can now take advantage of this financial debt relief as the cost of living continues to skyrocket. To check what debt reduction you may qualify for, call 800-207-4545. That's 800-207-4545. Once again, that's 800-207-4545.
Hey, Dave, this is Susan L. Ward, and my law firm and I want to wish you congratulations on your 25 years with the show. I am really, really glad that you left family law practice to me, and here's to 25 more for you on radio.
Hey, it's Jeff Sachs at Sachs Financial. Did you know that you have a pension and there are ways to maximize how you take it? That's right. It's called Social Security. Find out more at retiresafestl.com/guide. That's retiresafestl.com/guide.
The Dave Glover Show, weekdays at 1 on 104.1 FM, KMOX.
Pujols hits a high fly ball. That's deep. Left center field. It's a gunner! Pujols hits a 2-out, 2-run homer in the 7th inning, 14-6 Cardinals.
Well, the Cardinals know that Oliver Marmol will return in 2026 to be the manager of their team for another season. We are also getting all kinds of reporting this week that Albert Pujols could very well become the next manager of the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. To discuss that with us is Sam Blum, who covers Major League Baseball and the Angels for The Athletic and actually wrote about that this week, that he is the leading candidate. Pujols, the leading candidate to be the Angels' next manager. And Sam Blum is with us on the guest line. Good afternoon, Sam. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Well, we appreciate you being here. So what's the latest on this? Because we know Cardinals fans, many of them just salivate at the idea of Albert being their manager someday or Yadier Molina. But since Albert appears to be on the verge of doing that job for the Angels, how close is it?
You know, I think it's always hard to know with Artie Moreno exactly where things are. I think one thing that's really interesting about this process is that it's clearly being done by ownership as opposed to anyone in the front office. And at this point, I mean, the Angels general manager seems to kind of be MIA from this process. And so, you know, I think when you look at where the Angels were, they had Ron Washington as manager. That he had to leave in the middle of the season due to a health issue. I think, you know, maybe he didn't have the same presence toward the end of his tenure that he did at the very beginning. So they're looking for someone, I think, that kind of fits Albert Pujols' mold. Just someone that's widely respected by players, someone that's got a little bit of managerial experience now. And, you know, obviously he's got his connections to the Angels. Now, you know, Angels fans don't love Albert the same way that he's beloved in St. Louis, just simply because he didn't accomplish the same things there and he wasn't as productive. And, you know, the Angels, through no fault of Albert Pujols, I would argue, were not really, you know, perennially great team the way the Cardinals were. So how close is it? I think it's a little hard to say exactly where this stands, you know, because it could drag on longer than maybe might not be imminent. It's hard to say, but I part of me thinks that this could happen somewhat quickly. It's just I don't want to give a timeline on it. And, you know, again, anything with the Angels, you got to see it to believe it. You know, once Albert retired, I'll believe it. But I do know that he is the kind of leader in the room right now.
Sam, Bernie Miklasz, I just wanted to compliment you. You do a great job at The Athletic covering the Angels, covering baseball. So well done. And thanks for being with us. I did want to ask you this. I want to kind of branch off from what you just said. I was doing some research this morning. The Angels have had 10 consecutive losing seasons. They've made the playoffs one time in the last 16 years. They haven't won a postseason game since 2009. There's constant turmoil, chaos, bad signings, dysfunction. But my question to you, not that you would know this for sure, but I just wonder whether Albert Pujols would just be better off by waiting for a better job to come along, because he will undoubtedly get a shot. What do you think about that?
I think it's a very fair question to ask. And I think it comes down to his patience in wanting this job. They brought, like you alluded to earlier, the Cardinals bringing back Marmol. I think, if you're already, that's probably the best news you could get, because Pujols would have made a lot of sense in that role in St. Louis. And I think that's, if you're waiting for any job, but a job that would be, really like a match made in heaven, it would be Albert Pujols managing the St. Louis Cardinals. Now, I always think, like, when you look at Buster Posey kind of as the GM of or as the president of baseball operations in San Francisco, I think that there are risks associated with a beloved superstar coming back in a leadership role that, are typically destined to fail at some point. And that, you never want to risk the relationship that you've established with a fan base, and you don't want to create the uncomfortable conversations that come as a result of it. But that being said, I mean, I don't really think the Angels' job is one where anybody's really going to be set up for success given the current structure of power. I mean, we just talked about Perry, basically the general manager, basically being sidelined here, not even certain if he's still employed at this point. I mean, it's just a weird situation. And it's reflective of a lot of the issues that got them to the point where they are now, which is without a playoff win in 16 years, without a playoff appearance in 11 years, and without a winning record in a full decade, which is just an embarrassing situation for anybody that is a part of that. It's awful. And the lack of accountability from the Angels organization, and kind of the indignance that they are on the right track and that they are building towards something. I almost find it comical, because it's just the same record every single year, and the same problems and the same turmoil and the same results. And I guarantee you, the next time that they do have a press conference, they're going to try to sell people on the growth in the building. It just is not happening. It just simply isn't. And so, if you're Albert, I asked him in spring training, because he comes to Angels spring training every year, and I asked him, how close do you think this team is to having a winning record, to putting a competitive product on the field? And he goes, and I think this was very indicative of where things stand right now with the Angels. He goes, they put a winning product on the field every year. It's just injuries. And that made me almost kind of laugh, because it's just like, man, Albert, you are really just doing everything you can to get this job, it seems like, because it's not the case. It's not true. They're not putting a winning product on the field, and it's not just the injuries. But I think he's smart enough to know that. But he obviously wants this job, and so I think maybe it makes sense for him to wait around. But also, he wants to manage, and the Angels, they might give him that chance. And if all things being equal, it might be the right move for him. And see what you can do here, and if it works, great. If it doesn't, go someplace else. I'm sure he'll get another opportunity regardless of how this plays out.
Something you touched on there is interesting, because, and I've been saying this too to Cardinals fans, be careful what you wish for, because right now, Albert Pujols can do no wrong. And then if he does end up coming to a team that's not very good, spends a couple of years here, they're not winning, to no fault of his own because the roster isn't good enough. People have a way of starting to turn on you a little bit. If you're the manager of the team, it is seen as your responsibility. But I'm wondering if Angels fans have the same sort of relationship with Albert that Cardinals fans have with him, because he spent his best years here, and he was incredible here, became a Hall of Famer while he was here in St. Louis. Do Angels fans view him similarly?
No, and I actually think that works towards this. It's positive that they don't. I mean, I think that you don't want a beloved figure. I felt that way, like I alluded to with Buster Posey coming in San Francisco. I don't think it's smart for anybody to come in and try and take over that type of role. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. It feels perfect, like I said, but it is also so risky. And the Angels fans, I mean, I don't think there's a universal hatred of Albert Pujols by any means, but I think that there is certain resentment because they maybe associate his signing with kind of the time when this whole thing really just got ugly. And, he spent a lot of years, not necessarily being horrendous, but also really not being Albert Pujols. And then they release him, and then immediately he goes to the Dodgers and obviously back to the Cardinals, and is somehow, even at, whatever he was at that point, maybe early 40s, doing exceptional work and really looking like kind of like he did in his prime. And it just made no sense. So to Angels fans, at least. So I think that there might be, not a ton of love lost, which is a good thing. I mean, Albert Pujols will have the respect of every single player that he manages. That's an important thing to keep in mind here. And I think that's something that, that maybe hasn't always been the case with the Angels in recent years. And it's not a slight to Wash or Ray or even a Phil Nevin or Joe Madden. But I just think that those issues have kind of played out where it's just the clubhouse, and there hasn't been that whatever that it factor in there. And Albert Pujols had an it factor in his career. There's with the Angels, with the Cardinals, with the Dodgers, with whoever, he had that. And so I think that will play some role in how they perform, I hope. But at the end of the day, I mean, there's just so many things that go on behind the scenes beyond the manager with the Angels that you just can't predict that any singular person is going to fix this outside of a new owner.
Sam, I have one more related question to Albert. He's got that personal services contract with Artie Moreno and the Angels. And I just wondered, because I've heard various interpretations of this, but I just did a video for another employer, and I talked about even if the Cardinals were going to try to hire Pujols now, which they're not, it would be dishonorable because they've already announced that Marvel's coming back. They're not going to stab him in the back. I always wondered, though, if this is obviously a hypothetical. If Albert Pujols wanted to take the Cardinals job like soon, and they wanted him, if Artie Moreno wants Albert Pujols as a manager, could he use the personal services contract to in effect, block any attempt a team like the Cardinals would make to try to hire Albert right now?
I don't think so. Look what Pujols has done in the last 3 years. That he's been making $1 million a year from the Angels and effectively doing almost no work for them outside of attending spring training and going to their Dominican academy. I think a couple times, maybe once or twice a year. So he's not really doing a lot for them. So I think, and he's doing a lot of things for a lot of people. Like he's on MLB Network. There's been a bunch of he's done stuff. He's been an ambassador with the Cardinals, I think, even during this time. So it's I think his work with the Angels is largely ceremonial, and he is enjoying the $1 million he gets with them a year. And it's nice for the organization to be able to have Albert in an Angels uniform show up to spring training every year. And I think that's a net positive for them. But ultimately, I don't think that personal services contract holds a ton of weight. And I think that if Albert wanted to do anything else in his career, this wouldn't stop him from doing it. Now, maybe it might void the contract. I mean, I don't know how much he values that, kind of that $1 million a year for the next, 7 or so years. But I don't think it would stop him from being a Cardinals manager or a manager of any other team at that rate. I mean, it's possible Artie might try and leverage it. I don't really know, but it hasn't stopped Albert from doing anything else, and I can't imagine that it would. And I don't think it would be in the Angels' best interest to create that type of storyline where they're blocking Albert from managing the Cardinals. It would be they'd be the villains of all professional sports.
Yeah, that's very much the case. Sam Blum, Major League Baseball writer for The Athletic, also covering the Angels. We thank you for taking time this afternoon.
Of course. Yeah, thanks for having me. Take care, guys.
Sam Blum. You can follow him on Twitter at SamBlum3, covering that story with Albert Pujols out in Los Angeles. The Gashouse Gang is brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, SaligaHeatingandCooling.com, and by Anderson Hospital. Bernie Miklas and Chris Ranji with you until 1 o'clock. We want to hear from you. 314-436-7900. Join the show, or you can, if you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter, at KMOX Sports. You can find us there. And you should know that FanDuel is America's #1 sports book, and it's coming to Missouri December 1st. That is less than 2 months away. Finally, you're going to be able to bet on all your favorite teams and all your favorite sports, and it is such a great time of year for that to be happening because you've got pro football, college football, basketball is happening at that time. Hockey is coming back here in, just a couple of weeks. So with FanDuel, there are going to be all kinds of ways for you to get in on the action. However you want to bet, if you just want to look to the future, maybe bet on which team's going to win the division or the championship, or you want to bet on who will be the most valuable player that season, you can do that too. Live betting, also an option with FanDuel. Pick the player that you think is going to score the next touchdown or the touchdown after that. And of course, there's always the parlay. You can build your own parlay if you want, and all kinds of boosts for you. Download the FanDuel app now so that you can get familiar with it, because you got a little time to do that now. And again, it will be available and live to use December 1st here in Missouri. You need to see for yourself why FanDuel is America's #1 sports book. FanDuel, Play your game. 21 and over and present in Missouri. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Never predictable, always entertaining. Dave Glover, now celebrating 25 years.
Hi, Dave. Sue Thomas here. I just wanted to say that some of the best times I've had in radio have been on your show, just being a part of the DGS. And I hope you tell your radio origin story, because it's one of the craziest I've heard. You are the best. Happy anniversary.
The Dave Glover Show, weekdays at 1 p.m. on 104.1 FM KMOX.
Sponsored by BioBalance Health and BioBalance Skin.
Now, KMOX weather from the Saliga Heating and Cooling Weather Desk.
82 degrees and mostly sunny in St. Louis. The high today is going to be 90. It's October 2nd, by the way.
Brought to you by Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Service you can see, experts you can trust.
Hear that? Sounds like simple. No appointments. About 15 minutes to change your oil. Then out the door and back to life. Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Simple.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6986. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6986. That's 800-575-6986. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Here's a tale of Becky. Didn't know what to do with new meds prescribed and no real cost clue.
She squinted at prices, that can't be right. Then tapped GoodRx and saw the light.
She can get a deal. Book telehealth if she feels.
Learn about those meds without any stress. That one little app does all the rest. Even my horse downloaded it. Dang, save time and money on prescriptions.
Check GoodRx. GoodRx is not insurance.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Severe from Vicks.
Sinex Severe nasal spray.
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Severe instantly relieves nasal congestion and works 6 times faster than nasal decongestant tablets. The 12 hours of relief allow you to get back to the moments that matter without congestion.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it! Try Sinex Severe from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
What if you had a plan to build income outside your job? At Lifestyles Unlimited, you'll learn how people are investing in real estate to grow their income and make smarter financial choices one property at a time. Right now, join us for just $297. That's a savings of $443 off our real estate education program. Text RADIO to 88007. That's RADIO to 88007. Presented by Lifestyles Unlimited.
When you enter a place of business, you're owed a legal duty that the place of business is safe for you to shop in. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. If you suffered an injury at a place of business, our duty is to protect you after that harm. Morgan & Morgan, for the people.com.
Join Mark Patrick seminars and lose the weight or stop smoking guaranteed. That's right, weight loss seminar at the Marriott St. Louis West in St. Louis at 11 a.m. Registration 10:30 a.m. Stop smoking seminar 2 p.m. Registration 1:30 p.m.
The countdown to kickoff starts here. Friday's focus on Mizzou, the Chiefs, and the NFL, only on KMOX.
Gashouse Gang on 104.1 FM KMOX every weekday from 12 until 1 o'clock. It's Bernie Miklas and Chris Ranji today as we are sitting here on a playoff day. And Bernie and I talked about it a little bit, the 3 elimination games that are happening today in the postseason starting this afternoon. So a really fun baseball time of the year. Just kind of wish the Cardinals were involved in that because it's always fun to be in the postseason, even I think if you end up losing badly like the Reds did to Los Angeles. So wanted to get to some of your thoughts. You can text us 314-436-7900, or if you are watching on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter, you can leave a comment there or a question, and Bernie and I will try to get to those. Like this one from Mitchell, who says, I hate to say this word, but fans really have to understand how long this could take and have to have some patience. And Mitchell is talking about getting back to being a winning team. And I brought that part up about the patience, Bernie. I have been saying for a while, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but I feel like if you laid out a clear path to the fan base and you said, here's the deal, it might take us a little bit, but this is our plan. This is how we're going to get back to being the Cardinals of 2004 and 2006 and 2011. This is how we get back to that team. Bear with us while we do this. I think fans would be on board with that. But and you said this earlier, the smart fans would. But do you think that people would come out to the ballpark anyway, or no?
I doubt it. But the thing that would invigorate it is if they have some young stars emerging, like a JJ Weatherholt in 2026. If Liam Doyle comes up, I mean, if they generate some buzz, if they're going to have largely the same group back or the same type of team back, it would be more of the same. I think the fans will start to come back. The ones who actually, really are Cardinals fans, they would start to come back once they see some fruits of the rebuilding plan start to surface at Busch Stadium. There'll be a lot of excitement over some of these guys. And if Bloom is as good as he's always been about drafting players, there's going to be a steady flow of really good talent on the way to St. Louis. And then people can see the plan materializing right in front of them. But I've said this before, and I think it's worth reminding. I also think it's kind of funny. It really says a lot about Bill DeWitt's ownership and how great it's been over 30 years. Not lately, granted, that Cardinals fans have never even had to think about the word rebuild. I mean, there's very few baseball franchises that can say that over a 30-year period. I mean, I was looking at some things the other day. Remember when the Blue Jays won back-to-back World Series in the early 90s? They went 20 years in a row without making the playoffs after that. I mean, look, I'm not saying fans should be happy with this downturn. I'm not saying that at all. I totally get the frustration, and I've been critical of why it happened. But if you look at the 30 years, we don't have all that much to complain about. If you look at the whole body of work, right? So this is just one of these times, when you have the teams reach the end of a great era, sports history tells us that often a down cycle occurs and they have to regroup, and sometimes it takes a while. This is not exclusive to St. Louis. It's happened pretty much everywhere, Right. So I'm looking forward. I think Bloom's the right guy. I got another thing to say, but I don't want to keep going on. Maybe we can come back to it or something, but there's a related thought to this.
Oh, you might as well go with it.
All right.
We're here. Might as well.
One thing that made me cringe a little bit, with Chaim Bloom had his after session with the beat writers, and Katie Wu had a really good story about it in The Athletic, where they were trying to put out the idea, well, no, we're going to spend. That could be a tactical error, because there's a lot of people in this fan base who are like, I call them one issue voters. All they care about is spend, right? So they hear spend. There are different definitions of spend. You can spend like the Milwaukee Brewers, and you can get outspent by the Cardinals by more than $300 million in payroll since 2018, and yet kick the Cardinals' butts repeatedly. The spending part of that has nothing to do with the Brewers' success. It's all about being smart and spending wisely. But anyway, when you get the payroll obsessive people hearing, so now they're going to spend, they're going to hold their feet to the fire. So if Chaim Bloom's version of the spending is to go out, and because he thinks there's this, a guy with a little bit of minor league or major league experience, and he's going to give him like $8 million to become a member of the rotation. They're going to find a guy like that. Cardinals will be ridiculed. Oh, they're going to spend. Oh, wow. They blew me away with that one. They're just cheap. It's going to be that stuff all over again. Some people will take that to mean the Cardinals are going to start to spend a lot more like in 2026. I don't think that'll be the case. So I think they got to be careful when they start talking about, hey, we're going to spend. Well, define spend. Give us a rough outline of what that means exactly. So they got to be careful with that. That's all I'm trying to say.
So here's what, and I am not, I do focus on payroll, and the Cardinals have had competitive payrolls, top 10 payrolls not that long ago. And for a mid-market team, small market team, that's pretty good. I think a lot of people look at what the Cardinals do in terms of revenue, the amount of people that come through the gates. Typically, we're not talking about the last couple of years, but you get routinely 3 million people coming through, then you sort of expect there to be a high payroll. My philosophy is when there is a free agent who is available at a young age, still in his prime, and it might take a 9 or 10 year deal or longer than that, and it might cost you a lot of money, don't automatically be out on that.
Right.
Just because I think about this. I know they had a glut of outfielders for a while, but how good would Bryce Harper look in the uniform, a Cardinals uniform? And that's a guy who has been really good since he signed with Philadelphia. Every year he's hit. Every single year he's hit. And I know he's not playing the outfield any longer. And so your plans change a little bit, but he's going to make what, Bernie, $27 million next year?
Yeah.
That's not that much money in 2026.
He's brought immense value to the Phillies.
Absolutely. So, and I know that there was interest in him in the past, but you can't just say, oh, it's going to be a 10-year plus deal. Nope, out. Never mind. Not even going to bother trying to do anything here. To me, I think that's a mistake because he would have fit really nicely at the time. And then, then you and on who knows if they do this anyway, but you add Arenado and Goldschmidt to the mix. That's a formidable lineup. And so, I don't know. That's where I stand on it. I just don't want them to dismiss any options that might present themselves just because it would cost money. That's all I'm looking for.
I totally agree with you. And Ronj, when we were both working for the same radio station, when he was a free agent, I was basically going nuts every day about how he is ideal for what the Cardinals need right now. And by the way, he would have signed here. I mean, he respects baseball history and all that. St. Louis appealed to him, and they just never even got involved. And I don't understand that. And because with all due respect to Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt, I'm really glad that they were Cardinals, and I'm really glad that Bill DeWitt and John Mozeliak went out and traded them. But when you're either by signing a guy or trading for a guy where big money is involved and they're on the older side, the risk increases that something will go wrong. Age-related decline, age-related injuries, and you're not going to get the full value that you think you were going to get. It's better to go with younger players who are in their peak, but they're early in their peak, and they got a lot of years left. That's a much better investment.
Yeah, he was 26 his first year in Philadelphia. Right. So I would have taken a 26-year-old Bryce Harper in a minute. And then he ended up, I mean, you look at his OPS since he signed with Philly year by year, 882, 962, 1044, 877, 900, 898. He has been no worse than 840 in terms of OPS since they acquired him. And that was just this past year. And he still hit 27 home runs.
And there was also, what's the word? There was an appeal to him that doesn't have to do what that goes also beyond this.
He's a star.
Like he is a star. He's got charisma. He's a maverick. He sort of says what's on his mind. He plays the game with flair. He's always kind of in the news, but not for bad stuff.
Right.
And he's the type of guy, with all due respect to the Cardinals, they do not have a star now. They do not have one guy where you say, let's get the kids together. I want to go see Bryce Harper, man. It's always fun. Let's go see Bryce Harper.
Right.
They don't have that guy. And I don't mean to demean the other players. They just don't have that guy. Bryce Harper would create a buzz. He would be a charismatic, excellent player that draws fans, that by himself can draw fans.
Yeah, and that's all I'm saying is for the right deal, the right player at the right age, you gotta at least let it be an option for you. And that's all I hope they do moving forward. So Bernie, as we hit the break here on the Gashouse Gang, why don't you tell everybody about our friends at Saliga?
I would be honored. Saliga Heating and Cooling, is a Daikin comfort dealer. It's been taking care of St. Louis families 1927. That's when Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig were going bananas, winning, just destroying pitching everywhere and winning the World Series. So they're coming up on 100 years. And what does that tell you? I can tell you what it means to us because we've been a Saliga family for 17 years. And we're part of the generations of St. Louis families that have relied on Saliga Heating and Cooling and have found it to be a very rewarding experience. You can count on honesty, integrity, professionalism, knowledge, class. They don't play any games. They don't try to upsell. They don't try to talk you into stuff you don't need. I've said this before, and I always want to say it just about every time. In our experience with Saliga, when we've had emergencies, we've had problems, they always start by looking for the least expensive solutions first. Part of that is because they want your customer loyalty. They want to treat you right. They want to earn your trust. So they act in a way that is very trustworthy. I mean, so I can testify to that over and over again. They also have a priority club. It's a maintenance program that does extend the life of your equipment because you're getting your equipment checked a couple times a year, making sure everything's fine. There's no problems. You're safe. Everything's ready for whatever season. And by doing those couple of checks each year, you save money in the long term because it does extend the life. So, and you get some other perks too. Listen, I can't say enough good things about Saliga Heating and Cooling. Dan Saliga, the fourth owner operator of the family business, very proud family business, got high standards. So if you want to find out more, and you can get the phone number here too, just go to SaligaHeatingandCooling.com, SaligaHeatingandCooling.com. Thank you.
Red Kingdom is back at FanDuel Sports Network Live in Ballpark Village. See every game on the largest screen in town. Don't forget about the $25 buckets, $5 cocktails, and the best tailgate food around. Grab your friends along with KMOX and huddle up for the games at the best watch party in town. If you can't make it, but don't want to miss a down, listen to the Chiefs on KMOX or KMOX on the Odyssey app. For more info, KMOX.com/events.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have leaf filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/deal to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
To get this special radio offer, go to leaffilter.com/deal for your free gutter inspection today and get up to 30% off. That's leaffilter.com/deal for up to 30% off. leaffilter.com/deal. See representative for warranty details.
The IRS finally caught up with Louie.
I hadn't paid my taxes in 8 years. I owe the IRS a lot of money.
Louie was in deep trouble.
We're going to take your house, put a lien on your bank account, garnish your pay. They don't care. They're going to take your paycheck.
Louie found out about Optima Tax Relief, the leading tax resolution firm. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, they've resolved over $1 billion for their clients.
Optima Tax, they help me. They calm me down. They make me feel comfortable, and I trust them.
Louie has a lot to be thankful for.
I don't owe the IRS anymore, and I'm able to live a comfortable life, a lot better life. It was because of Optima Tax.
For tax help you can trust, call Optima now for a free consultation. Take it from Louie.
If you owe the IRS, don't go it alone. Give Optima Tax a call. They can help you.
Call 800-348-0269. 800-348-0269. 800-348-0269. Optima Tax Relief. Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
The biggest impact I get to make is seeing kids graduate.
I find it the most meaningful to be able to work with kids and see the smiles on their faces when they figure out how to read.
I felt really strongly that my faith was calling me to be a person who serves others.
The only way that things are going to get better is if we all try to lend a hand.
Volunteer in your community. Visit showmeservice.org. Sponsored by the Missouri Community Service Commission and the Corporation for National and Community Service.
What if you had a plan to build income outside your job? At Lifestyles Unlimited, you'll learn how people are investing in real estate to grow their income and make smarter financial choices one property at a time. Right now, join us for just $297. That's a savings of $443 off our real estate education program. Text radio to 88007. That's RADIO to 88007. Presented by Lifestyles Unlimited.
Now back to the Gashouse Gang, sponsored by Saliga Heating and Cooling on 104.1 FM KMOX.
Got about a minute or so left here. Bernie wanted to get to one more comment. And if you are watching on YouTube, like John is, you can always write into the show on the Gashouse Gang. And it asks you this question, Bernie, if you think the Cardinals will actually go into the season next year with Gorman and Walker in the lineup. Bloom seemed committed to both. However, he also did say that that the patience or the optimism, his words were optimism was tested when it came to those two guys.
I understand why Chaim Bloom said what he said, because first of all, there's no reason for him to tell the world right now, no, these guys, we're tired of them, and that's it, we're moving on. He's got to talk about them relatively in an upbeat way, because if he's going to try to market them in trades, he doesn't want to damage the product, further damage the product that he's trying to sell. So he's being polite and neutral about it. But I've been told they're both going to have to do something that's going to, give the Cardinals a reason, if they make it to spring training, Walker especially, to give the Cardinals a reason to stick with them in with any kind of playing time. And I firmly believe Jordan Walker you don't have to trade him, but it would be best to put him in AAA and Memphis for the entire year next year. He skipped that level. He needs that level. He has to get away from the fire and rebuild his offense and do it where you're not in St. Louis, Missouri, where you can regroup. Gorman, I got mixed feelings on. I mean, I hear people say he's never done anything. Go to Baseball Reference and look at his 2023 season and get back to me on that. I mean, the dude slugged nearly 500 and hit like 27, 28 home runs. We know he can do it. We saw for 3 months straight this past season. But then all of a sudden, out of the blue, without warning, he just completely relapsed in terms of plate discipline. So he's very frustrating. But he has shown the power, not as much as he should have in 2025. It's very disappointing. But the Cardinals do not have power.
Yep.
Not nearly enough power. So I would be really careful to give away someone that at least has the capability. And I say that knowing his lack of consistency has been maddening. I'm just saying, be careful. That's all.
Bernie Miklasz, Chris Ranji on the Gashouse Gang, brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, SaligaHeatingandCooling.com, and by Anderson Hospital. The podcast for this show available for you wherever you get your podcasts. We recommend you do that. We're going to be back tomorrow at noon. It'll be Mike Claiborne, Matt Pauley, and me. Bernie Miklasz will be back next week. Bernie, good to talk to you. Let's do it again soon.
Thank you, Ron. It's always a pleasure, buddy.
That's Bernie Miklasz. I'm Chris Ranji. We thank you for listening today. Again, back tomorrow at noon on the Gashouse Gang on 104.1 FM KMOX. Dave Glover.